Hello Diary, it's late on the evening of Thursday, October the 2nd, and we're at an air, which I'll explain in a moment, in Alpe du Grand Serre, which is south of Grenoble. So I'll start the report of this Thursday in the morning. So this morning we were still at the municipal campsite in Bedouin. So we spent yesterday there, having cycled up Mont Ventoux and come down again, and had a nice evening there. And this morning it was time to leave. We managed to leave before the 12 o'clock. I think we were actually out and on the road by about 10 o'clock. We made use of all the good facilities in the campsite, so that means we had a nice big shower, and we cleaned up. I had a nice big breakfast, so did Agatha, inside the camper, and then the idea was to drive a bit and go for a big long run. So we did manage to do that. So we parked up at a village called L'Église near, I think it's called Chinchilla or Chinchilla-ish. That was kind of the village name. It was actually quite difficult to find. So Agatha was doing a lot of surfing whilst I was driving, trying to find a suitable place where there would be an air and also a place to have a run. Now, just a small aside, in France it seems that motorhoming is very much the done thing, and they go out of their way to make it easy for you to motorhome and stay. Something called an air, A-I-R-E, is a very low cost or free place to stay the night in your camper van. If it's free, you've just got a flat place to sit and rest your head. But there are some payable options. So sometimes there's like a little machine whereby you can get electricity, for example, for the whole night or maybe just an hour, and maybe some water supplies. Again, sometimes the water is free, but we've seen these little machines whereby you can put in like a few euro, and at best they gave us, I think it was water for, let's say, 10 minutes, which is enough to fill up your fresh water tank, and electricity for 8 hours. So anyway, we found this air in this place called L'Église, as in church, but it didn't have any power. And so we had one power point, but it was for, I think, an hour of power for about two euros jet on, and we had to go somewhere else to get the jet on. So I thought, this is a bit of a dead loss. What we'll just do is we'll do the run, and if we're desperate we'll stay here, otherwise we'll move on. So the run was all nicely put onto Agatha's very clever Garmin Phoenix 2 watch, meaning that we've got a track log. You can export the exact track route of the map into a .gpx file, and then import it into the watch. So when you do the run, as long as you're on course, you can just follow the dots. So it's very difficult to get lost. However, in our case, the run started about 2 kilometres from where we'd parked up, and try as we might, we couldn't easily find the start of the run. So we did sort of veer completely off course. The sort of run was like here, and we were kind of going off this way. And eventually we got to a point which was like 1 or 2 kilometres away from the run, but then we noticed there was like a big gully in the way, and we just couldn't get to the run, so we had to come all the way back down, and then eventually we got to the start of the run. So we got to the start of this almost 20k hike / trail run, and we set off. We had an interesting start in that we met two gentlemen who I thought were telling us initially. I thought they were telling us about if we had trouble, we could phone up a guy for assistance called, what was his name? Jorg. But it turned out they'd actually gone walking with a guy called Jorg, and then he'd lost him. So they gave me a phone number, which I thought was some sort of emergency contact number, and I rang it, and it rang the guy next door, and he went, so like, if you see Jorg, you're supposed to ring us. I went, oh, I understand now. So when we set off on our 17-kilometre hike, and it was a bit traumatic because as soon as we set off, it became apparent that if we didn't hurry up, the sun would go down, and we were walking through an unexpectedly large amount of forest. So clearly if the sun went down, it would all be pitch black, and it would be really difficult to come back down again. So in the back of my mind, I was kept on thinking to myself, why did I tell Agatha not to bring the head torch? Why did I tell Agatha not to bring the head torch? Anyway, so with that ever present on my mind, we sort of felt the clock was sort of kind of ticking against us. And it was with a certain degree of relief. And I think it was about 2.5 hours later that we got to Calder Lapet. I think it was Muppet, but it's actually Lapet, L'Apete. About 1,650 metres, I believe, 1,650 metres. So that was a bit of a result. I was very, very pleased to get there. And then Agatha said, oh, the way we came up at the end wasn't actually the right path that was on the track log. So I said, oh, we're going to go back a different way. She said, just a little bit different. So we went off back down the mountain on a slightly different track. So I was then a bit panicking at the fact that this little different track would peter out. In fact, it was nowhere near as well marked as the track that we came up towards the end. But it did, luckily, it did meet up with the track that we had come up. So we sort of did like a up, then up to the top, then a tiny little loop, then down the same track. So I think it took about an hour to get down, and it was 2.5 hours to get up. So we're clearly making good time on the way down. So we got back down, and then we thought, well, do we want to stay in this area or not? And since the electricity play wasn't convincing, we'd have to get jet-ons. We thought, oh no, we can't be bothered with that. So then we're driving towards home. So we've got one day left tomorrow. That's Friday. And today's Thursday. We thought, well, if we drive a bit further today, we've got less to drive tomorrow. And in fact, Agatha tells me I've rather overdone it because we've only, quotes, got about 200k left to go tomorrow, or less than 200k. So we thought we'd be a bit inventive, and towards the end of the evening we thought we'd go off the big motorway style roads, and we'll go onto the smaller road and see if we could find a nice place to eat for the evening. So we went through 3 or 4 different villages. One was called Viz. Was it called Viz?
Vif.
Vif, V-I-F. And that was like a new town with a massive supermarket, but no restaurant that we could find. We went through another small town, and we found this on the internet, mobile internet. We found a Michelin-starred pizza restaurant. So I thought, oh, this is brilliant. Let's go there. We went there. Navigate. Closed. Apparently it's open tomorrow. So that was off. So we skulked around the same town, and we managed to find a very simple but very fast food serving pizza Italian style restaurant. So my guys had a salad, I had my lasagna. So that's all worked out very well. And then the denouement of the evening was that Agatha had found this air, which, like I said before, is a free-ish or low-cost camping facility for motorhomes. And there's only one small catch. It was 30 kilometres away in the wrong direction, and 15 of those kilometres were up a rather treacherous, very thin mountain road. So I thought, oh well, what we'll do is we'll drive towards it, and if we don't see anything air-like, we'll have to go the full 30k. Now, in previous parts of this holiday, we've seen these air stops everywhere, but in this area near Grenoble, I think they aren't so frequent. In fact, we found none. So we did the first 10k, I think it was, which was like on big roads, and then the last sort of, but the first 15k was on big-ish roads, or getting smaller. But then the last 15k has been up this treacherous mountain pass in pitch black conditions, and the roads are really thin. They're less than, each person's side of the road is less than 2 metres wide, so the van is just slightly over the centre line. We had no traffic for the entire 15k, but Agatha was navigating every little swiggle. She had the Windows Phone, which comes with these preloaded maps, and we navigated every one of the 7 wiggles under her direction, good map direction. So it was just amazing directions from darling Agatha. So we've managed to, after this is cutting the very long story short, but believe me, it took us about an hour to get here. We're very relieved to be here. We've got electricity points, and there are showers all the way down the end of this car park, but we're now not in a state to get to them, so we're going to have a shower in the van. I've got a lot of wine, We didn't hit anything. We didn't have any accidents. We got here safely. It is definitely time for some wine celebration and bedtime. So good night, Dari. Thanks very much for listening and watching. We've had another great day. The learning points are that there might be airs around in France, but in some regions there are less available than others. Driving at night is a bit difficult, and I think the only saving grace is no traffic at the moment, and we've got a very, very thin van. If we'd been in a 2 metre 10 or 2 metre 30 motorhome, I think we wouldn't have attempted it. It would have just been too risky. So that's the learning points. We'll speak to you tomorrow. Night night.